You know what? Just ask that question and let's start again. And that's where we're going to start it.
Okay. So, Kristi, everybody is in fear that the market's heading to crash. What do you think about that?
I think that people need to stop running around with their umbrellas thinking the sky is falling. We're not headed for a crash. What we're experiencing right now is very much a correction, but not a crash.
Why isn't it going to crash?
Because we still have too much of a supply and demand issue. A normal, healthy market is a 6-month inventory of homes on the market for sale, ready to buy.
What do we have today?
We have less than 2 months.
Yeah.
I think we're at like 1.6 or 1.8 in Livingston County.
Yeah.
So we are still far from even a normal market, let alone a suffering or a buyer's market.
Yeah. So low inventory, I mean, it's got to be great for sellers.
It is, but it is starting to slow down a little bit. And that's the one thing that sellers have to keep in mind when getting ready to sell their house. You know, this time last year, if we put a house on the market on Wednesday, very likely we were going to have multiple offers. You know, there's houses I had 20, 25 offers on in a weekend.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And hundreds of people coming in. You know, those days are yesterday.
Yeah.
Today's day is, you know, if we put a house on the market and, you know, the seller listens to us and stages it properly, we price it properly, we'll probably have a handful of offers after a week.
What do you think was the biggest change? Like, what pivoted that? Because it seemed like it happened like in a matter of like a month, from May to June almost.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason is because the rise in interest rates.
Uh-huh.
So what it did is a lot of the buyers who were just entering into the buying pool got pulled back out. They got outpriced from home affordability.
Because the interest rate was kind of double. If they were looking at 3%, now it's upwards of 5.5%.
Right.
So now their payments doubled. So
exactly. So a lot of the first-time home buyers who may have been buying in a $250,000 to $300,000 price range are now looking at their pre-approval going, that's not what I'm approved for now. Now I can buy $150,000 to $200,000, and that's not the type of home I want.
Right.
So it took out a lot of buyers from the buying pool. But what it did create is an urgency with the existing buyers to take advantage of the interest rates before they go even higher.
Sure.
And it's given them a more optimistic viewpoint, in my opinion, because now they actually have a day or two to get into a house, not hours to get into a house.
Right. Yeah. It seems like, buyers now can kind of, take a step back,
breathe,
actually look at the house, actually take a minute. I had one couple that came back through a second time on one of my listings. They brought the contractors back in. So you're right. I think I'm seeing from a buyer perspective that buyers have a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more, before it was like you had to give away almost your firstborn to get a house.
Think of last summer.
Yeah.
How many times did you write an offer sitting in the parking or the driving, the driveway? Thank you. The driveway of the house that you showed.
Yeah.
Or maybe even inside the house.
Yeah.
We actually have time now to get back to our office and comp the property and do research on it. And the buyers have time to talk to their spouse or their significant other and make sure it's the decision that they want to make.
One of the things that I was seeing last year that buyers couldn't do was buying and selling at the same time.
Yes.
Was so difficult. And now I'm seeing a lot more offers that are contingent on the sale of a property, which kind of, to your point, kind of harkens back to the way it was back in 2019,
Back in more of a normal inventory time. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, buying and selling at the same time and writing an offer that is contingent on the sale of your house.
You actually have a shot.
Somebody's not going to laugh you off the table with that offer.
They're given serious consideration.
Sure.
Yeah, it's definitely made the playing field a little bit more level. It's still very much a seller's market, and for the most part, sellers do have the upper hand, but the scene's changing, and I think it's becoming a lot better place for home buyers to be in the next couple months.
Yeah. And what's crazy too is that we're still seeing home values are up.
Yes.
That just blows my mind. Like,
it is. But, I just read an article through National Association of Realtors, and they were saying that Realtor.com just did their 2002 reforecast of the market, and they're estimating an 8.4% home appreciation in 2022.
Still.
So, well, people, we've have all the Chicken Littles in the world saying that the sky is falling. It's not. Interest rates are rising, but so is home appreciation.
Right.
What's declining is home affordability because of the interest rate. And that's why buyers really need to take advantage of the situation today.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, that's a kind of a good way to sum it up.
And then now our sellers, they're going to have a little bit of a attitude adjustment.
Yeah.
And as agents, we are too.
Right.
For sure, our job and our seller's job is going to become harder.
Sure.
Our sellers are going to have to be a little bit more proactive when they get ready to list a house. And we have to have a lot more conversations with our sellers that we, may not necessarily like to have.
Well, and I think, too, you got to pull out all your marketing gear now.
Absolutely.
Where last year it was like you didn't have time to do an open house because it was barely on the market.
Right.
You barely had time to do any advertising or door knocking or anything like that. And now there's time to do that.
Right. There's time to do that. And then the homes that are, again, prepped and ready, they're still selling with multiple offers, and they're still going over list price.
Yeah, no doubt.
Again, even though we're talking that things are stabilizing, over 50% of the homes still had received offers over list price last month.
Okay. All right. So it's still out there. It's just not the frenzy that it was.
It is. And we have to look at those 50% that sold for over or had offers over list price.
What did they look like?
What did they look like, and how were they priced? We can't price like we were in May of 2021,
right,
when the neighbor's house sold for $300. So we listed your house at $310, and we'd get $320 or $330, $340 for it.
Right.
Now when we're pricing houses, we have to be more realistic. Okay, the homes in the area sold for $300. We're going to price your house for $300. We're going to make sure we have a fresh coat of paint, or we're going to make sure that it doesn't smell like your little four-legged best friends. Yes. We're going to make sure that the lawn is landscaped and we have some curb appeal. We're going to make sure that we do the open house and we do the marketing and we get your house out to the masses to pull that in. Because the neighbor down the street from you who has their house listed for $320, they're going to sit on the market and we're going to get your house sold because we're going back to the old school basics of real estate.
Right.
That's what we've been trained to do. That's what we do, and that's what we do best.
Yeah. It's kind of nice not to have to do it through a fire hose like we were last year.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and one of the things that I missed about last year is because everything was so rapid fire, we lost a lot of the relationship building with our clients.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
which is what this company was built on, which is why I love it.
Yes, that's 100% why I wanted to do this. Yeah. Is to get back to the relationships and the family. Buying's a very emotional thing. Selling's an emotional thing.
For sure.
And, now everybody has that chance to really breathe.
Yeah.
Agents, home buyers, home sellers. It's giving us a really good readjustment.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Kristi.
Yeah, no problem. I think that's the biggest thing is just people want to know what's going on.
Yeah. The fear is out there, but if you really kind of take a step back and look at it, you take a look at the economics and everything else that's going on, it really, it's still a good time to buy and it's still a good time to sell.
Absolutely. Buyers need homes, sellers get job changes, they move, life circumstances change. It's all doing what's best for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for meeting me today.
Yeah. Thank you, Kristi.
Thanks.